Alright, so this is the key for the target 6 final review. First thing we're going to do is find the rational zeros for our polynomials using the rational zero theorem. So we want to find all of the factors of 16 divided by all of the factors of our leading coefficient, which in this case is 1. So that gives us plus or minus 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. We're going to divide all of those by 1, and since everything divided by 1 is just itself, those are all of the possible zeros for our first one. For number 2, we're going to take all of the factors of 12 and we're going to divide them by all of the factors of 3. So that's going to give us plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And we're going to divide that by plus or minus 1 and 3. So if we write those out, we get plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And then we're also going to have 1/3, 2/3, and 4/3. Some of those will repeat, like 12 over 3 is 4, or 6 over 3 is 2, 3 over 3 is 1, so you don't need to repeat them. Just write them out once. For numbers 3 and 4, now we're going to list out all of the possible zeros and then actually find all of the zeros for our polynomial. So again, we're going to take all the factors of 3 and all of the factors of 4 divided by all of the factors of 3. So then that gives us plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 1/3, plus or minus 2/3, and plus or minus 4/3. So those are all the possible zeros. Now we're going to do synthetic division. For these, I would recommend doing plus or minus 1 to try out, and then plus or minus 2. So if we start off with 1, write your coefficients. So 3, 10, -9, -4. With synthetic division, we're going to bring down that first number. Then it's 1 times 3. That goes there. We're going to add now. 10 plus 3 is 13. 1 times 13 is 13. -9 plus 13 is 4. 1 times 4 is 4, so that gives us 0. This means that 1 is an actual 0, so now we're going to take our new coefficients, 3x squared plus 13x plus 4. We're going to factor that. If we remember, 3 times 4 is 12. Now we're looking for the factors of 12 that give us 13, so that's going to be 1 and 12. We're going to take the 3x, we're going to put that up here. We're going to take the 1, we're going to put that down here. And then take the 3x here with 12 underneath. So we're going to reduce now to come up with our factors. 3x over 1, x over 4. That gives us 3x plus 1 with x plus 4. Set those equal to 0. So now we get x equals -1/3, -4, and +1. We're going to do the same over on the next one. So now we're looking at the factors of 16 divided by the factors of 1, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 8, plus or minus 16. So we're going to try our numbers again. Like I said, try 1, -1, 2, and -2. Usually one of those will work. If you try all those out, you end up seeing that 2 is going to work, so we're going to do that one here. Bring down your 1. 2 times 1 is 2. That gives us 0, so 2 times 0 is 0. -8 plus 0 is -8. 2 times -8 is -16. That works out to give us 0. So now we've got x squared plus 0x minus 8 equals 0. You cannot factor this one, so then we can do quadratic formula, or we can solve this one just doing a normal square root. X squared equals 8. Take the square root of both sides, and x equals plus or minus the square root of 8. We're going to reduce this, so that gives us x equals plus or minus 2 times the square root of 2. So then our answers, don't forget, we've got 2, and then that gives us 2, and then 2 times the square root of 2, and 2 times, or -2 times the square root of 2 equals x. Second page, number 5, we're going to take the factors of 4. So that's plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, and plus or minus 4. We're going to check those. Now we've got a 4th degree polynomial. So if you test out 1, -1, 0, or I'm sorry, 2 and -2, then we're going to find that positive 1 works. We're going to plug those in, write your coefficients. So we're going to bring 1 down. 1 times 1 is 1. -2 plus 1 is -1. -1 times 1 is -1, so that gives us -13. -1 or -13 times 1 is -13. 17 minus 13 is 4. 1 times 4 is 4, which gives us a remainder of 0. So now, remember, since we started with x to the 4th power, we've got x cubed minus x squared minus 13x plus 4. So now we're going to try it again. Since we've already used 1, you can try -1, you can try 2 and -2, and in this case, after you try out all of your options, we're going to find out that 4 is the one that works. So 1, -1, -13, and 4. Bring our 1 down. 4 times 1 is 4. -1 plus 4 is positive 3. 4 times 3 is 12. -13 plus 12 is -1. 4 times -1 is -4. So we get a remainder of 0. So now we have 1 and 4. We're left with x squared plus 3x minus 1 equals 0. We can't factor this, so we're going to use quadratic formula. -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So a equals 1, b equals 3, c equals -1. We're going to go -3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times -1, all over 2. Reduce that, we get -3 plus or minus square root of 9 plus 4 over 2, which gives us -3 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 2. So now those are the other values for x. So our zeros are 1, 4, -3 plus the square root of 2 over 2, and -3 minus the square root of 13 over 2. So now we start graphing. When it is in factored form, we're going to count the zeros. We're going to look at the leading coefficient. We've got 1x there. We've got 2 x's there, and then 2 more here, so that's 5 total. So our degree is 5. The leading coefficient, if we look at this here, is 1. So our leading coefficient is 1, which is positive. If we have an odd degree with a positive leading coefficient, it goes down to the left, up to the right. So our end behavior is going to go like that. For our zeros, we're going to set every x factor to 0. So we've got x equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0. That gives us 0, positive 3, and negative 2 for our zeros. The other thing you want to pay attention to, the graph, when you have any of your factors that are squared, it's going to bounce. So we're going to look and see where the graph goes, hits that 0, and then bounces back down or bounces back up. So here we're going to have a bounce at positive 3 and negative 2. If we plot our points, we've got 0, positive 3, and negative 2. Our maximum number of intercepts is going to be equal to the degree, and the maximum number of turning points is going to be 1 less than that. So now we know that the graph is going to go down as we go to the right. We know that it's going to go down as we go to the left, up as we go to the right. We know that the graph is going to bounce at negative 2, and it's also going to bounce at positive 3. So that means it's going to hit there, it's going to go up, then it's going to go back down through 0, it's going to hit 2, and it's going to bounce down. For our next one, it's also in factored form. So we're going to count the x's again. None of them are squared, so we have nothing that bounces. If you look at the leading coefficient, there's no x there. So that means that it's not going to have 0 as one of our zeros. We've got 4 x's, so our degree is 4. The leading coefficient is negative 1/2, so it is an even degree, and it is negative. So our end behavior, it's going to go down to the left and down to the right. We're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve it. So we've got 5, 3, negative 3, and positive 1. We're going to plot those. 5, 3, 1, and negative 3. So it's not bouncing anywhere, so it's always going to go up through the intercept. We've got a maximum number of x-intercepts equal to the degree, 1 less than that for the turning points. We know that it's going down as we go to the left, and it's going down as we go to the right. So it's going to go up through there, back down through 1. It's going to turn, go back up through 3, and then back down through 1. Or I'm sorry, back down through 5. So this one, we have to factor it. It's in standard form. The leading degree now and the coefficient, or I'm sorry, the degree and the leading coefficient is based here. We're not going to count anything because it's not factored. So the degree is 3. Leading coefficient is 1. We've got an odd degree. Coefficient is positive. That means it's going to go down to the left and up to the right. We're going to find our zeros. We have to factor this one, so we're looking at plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 10, plus or minus 15, plus or minus 30. If we try all these, we end up finding that -2 works, so we're going to do synthetic division with -2. We've got 1, -6, -1, and 30 as our coefficients. That gives us -2 times 1 is -2. -2 times -8 is positive 16. -1 plus 16 is 15, so we're going to multiply that to get -30. So now we know that -2 is a 0. We've got x squared minus 8x plus 15. We're going to factor that. X minus 5, x minus 3. Set each of those equal to 0. So then we also get positive 5 and positive 3. So positive 5, positive 3, -2. We know that it goes down to the left. It goes up to the right. It's going to go up. We don't have any bounces, so it's going to hit a point. It's going to go back down, and then back up through 5. Maximum number of intercepts is 3. Leading coefficient, or I'm sorry, maximum turning points is 2. And our final one, we're looking here, we've got a degree of 4, leading coefficient of 1. So it is even, and it is positive, so we're going to go up to the left, up to the right. Maximum number of intercepts is 4, turning points 3. We are going to use the possible zeros from 6, so plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 6. If you test those out, you're going to find that 1 works. Write our coefficients down. We're going to bring 1 down. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 1 times 4 is 4. -3 plus 4 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. -7 plus 1 is -6. Multiply that, and we get 0. So now we know that 1 is a 0. Now we're left with x to the third plus 4x squared plus x minus 6. If we test this one out now, we're going to use -2. Bring your 1 down. -2 times 1 is -2. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 4 is -3. -2 times -3 is 6, so we get 0. So now we know that 1 and -2 are both zeros. we're left with x squared plus 2x minus 3. We're going to factor that, x minus 1, x plus 3. So we're going to get negative 3, and we also get positive 1. So now this factors to x minus 1 squared, x plus 3, x plus 2. So we're going to have a bounce at positive 1, and then we've got zeros at negative 3 and negative 2. We know that it's going to go up to the left, up to the right. It's going to go down, back up through negative 2. It's going to go up, it's going to hit negative 1, and it's going to bounce back up.